What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we've got some new Digimon cards to talk about. I did my kind of ranty video yesterday, and we didn't actually have, for the first time in a couple of weeks, maybe a bit longer, we actually didn't have any new Digimon cards to talk about on yesterday's video, which made me, frankly, a little bit nervous, a little bit scared, and a little bit unnerved. But we're back today, ladies and gentlemen, and we've got some Dinosaur Digimon to talk about. And who wouldn't want to talk about some Dinosaur Digimon? To be clear, I definitely do want to talk about some Dinosaur Digimon. Now, there's not really much translation needed here, but for what it's worth, our translation, I suppose for the names if nothing else, comes from the lovely folks over at Ensan Gaming. And what we've got here is a level 4 and a level 5. We've got Monochromon and Triceramon, though we will start off with Monochromon. And what we've got here is a 6 cost to play normally, which for a level 4 is... it's not terribly cheap. It is very much on the higher end. We are not loving it as much as we could. We've seen a lot better. We've got 5,000 power, which is fine. Actually, I'm checking over on digimoncard.dev here, and there are very few level 4s that cost 6 to play. We've seen some, but they tend to be really good ones. The 5,000 power is fine. It's on the higher end for a level 4, but let's not go silly here. I mean, we've seen a lot. You know, it's 5,000 power, right? You're not going to survive an attack to the stat more often than not, so who really cares? But we've got a 1 cost to Digivolve. And having a 1 cost to Digivolve is awesome. And don't get me wrong, right? We've seen a couple of these before. We've seen Dark Tyrannomon back in Booster 1.0. Now, that is a 6 cost to play normally, which is expensive, 6,000 power, which is powerful. But 1 cost to Digivolve, and that essentially means it's seen a huge amount of play up until now, because it's been a 1 cost to Digivolve. We did get a second 1 cost to Digivolve red. It is Fugamon, and Fugamon's very weak at 3,000 power, but it's a 3 cost to play normally, which is, again, incredibly cheap. So, you know what? We've got those two already. I suppose this does mean you can now have 12, which is to say 12 level 4s at Digivolve for 1 cost. You might not need to, but if you need to, you know, it's there, I suppose. But it's a blocker. And that's what really makes this such a gosh darn good card. It's got blocker. Having blocker is awesome. And this goes back to cards we've seen. They started coming around in the starter decks that are essentially 1 cost to Digivolve blockers, and they're really good. We've seen Kabuterimon coming around in a whole bunch of green decks lately because it's a 1 cost to Digivolve blocker. For what it's worth, this is essentially that. Like, stats-wise, it is exactly that. It's the exact same card, just with a different name and colour and artwork. But other than that, it's basically the same. And we need this. Green and purple and black got them in their starter decks, but the other colours didn't, because they didn't have starter decks. So we're essentially filling the gaps. And in the same way that Kabuterimon has seen a whole bunch of play in green decks lately, you can expect that Monochromon is going to see a whole bunch of play in red decks. For what it's worth, I've seen a couple of people out there who are suggesting the second lot of starter decks are green, purple, and black. You don't need to buy 2 of each of them. Yes, you do. The 2 ofs are great. I mean, one of the best decks around in Japan at the moment is the green deck that is built around Hercules Kabuterimon, which is a 2 of in the starter deck. And who's buying the starter deck and then selling you their Hercules Kabuterimon? And of course, there's a Kabuterimon, and there are others. I'm not going through them all today. I've done that video. You can check that one out. I did an opening and everything. Point is, yes, you do need 2 of the starter decks. But going back to this card, it is everything we wanted. It's a 1 cost blocker. And what's also very important, this is only the second blocker that we've actually seen in red. This is the first blocker that we've seen as a red Digimon since Triceramon in the red starter deck, and remember, these starter decks were the first products we ever saw. So up till now, if you're playing red, you could only have 4 blockers in your entire deck. Now you can have 8. So you can like this as a 1-cost Digivolve level 4, you can like it as a blocker, you can like it as just a cheap blocker, so either it can replace Triceramon as your blocker of choice, it can be a quick to Digivolve up and have blocker as a nice little bonus, or it can be your second blocker along with Triceramon, so you've got 8 in your deck total. Either way, it's amazing. Yes, it's got that same skill, I haven't mentioned it yet, it's been up on the screen, that most of these blockers have, whereby you lose 2 memory when you attack. So, attack when it's an emergency. Like, if you need to attack in order to win the game, fine. One thing I will say, and this is a little bit underrated, do remember that there are going to be some times where you have 1 memory remaining, but you don't have a 2-cost card. So actually attacking with these in that situation will put the turn to your opponent with a single memory, which can be a huge advantage. It might be the easiest way to do it. This is a 5 WOSI card. It's going to see a huge amount of play. This should go into pretty much every red deck immediately. And I know it's not terribly exciting because it's the same as cards we saw in the starter decks a little while ago. I'm sorry. But the fact of the matter is, this is going to be one of the most played red cards around. It's great. Moving on a little bit, we can have a little bit of a look at Triceramon. Now, Triceramon comes in as a red level 5, so we've gone up a level here, and it's a vanilla Digimon that's a 5-cost to play normally, 3-cost to Digivolve, 8,000 power, which is fine. I mean, the 5-cost to play normally is great. The 3-cost to Digivolve is standard, the 8,000 power is high, but not as high as we've seen. Don't get me wrong, it's still good. And if we look at all of the stats together here, it's Vermillimon. Like, it's literally Vermillimon with a different name and different artwork. But outside of that, it is literally exactly the same. A red level 5, 5-cost to play normally, 3-cost to Digivolve, 8,000 power. So again, one thing to mention here is that you have the option of now playing 8, whereas before you could only have played 4 of them, which is good, I suppose. And maybe you like them better. I mean, they're both kind of dinosaur-y, so, you know, that's kind of cool. Honestly, I don't mind these. I don't want to Digivolve up. I think Digivolving up is a waste. I think if you're going to play these, it needs to be you are hard casting them, you are playing them as a 5-cost, and then you've got 8,000 power, or you can Digivolve up. And to be fair, Groundramon has seen a fair bunch of play over in the Booster 1.0 format, and a little bit beyond that. And Groundramon's a little bit less powerful, but the thing that Groundramon has going for it is that it's also a 2-cost to Digivolve. So Groundramon is cheaper than average to play, and cheaper than average to evolve. These are only cheaper than average if you play them, and it's still 5 memory to play them, so honestly, I like having a 5-cost to play 8,000 power Digimon, but most of the time I'm going to want to Digivolve up, so I'm drawing cards and all of that. And 8,000 power is fine, and it is above the average for a level 5. 8,000 power, as I like to say, is where we're at that point where I expect to attack the stack and survive unless I hit a level 6. Because I'm higher than average level 5, so I should get 5 4s and 3s. It's fine, we didn't need it, we already had Vermillimon. But, I don't know, now we've got 2 of them, if that's the kind of thing you're into. I'm giving this one 3 Wossies, it's fine. But even if you think it's a good card, I don't think there's much of an argument for it being amazing. But even if you think it's a good card, we've already had this card. So it's hard to make an argument for it being hugely exciting. Now, there is one more card we need to have a quick look at today, and not only am I not going to make an argument for this being hugely exciting, I'm not going to make an argument for it being exciting even a little bit. What we've got here is Piximon. It's a vanilla level 5 green. 7 cost to play normally, 2 cost to Digivolve, 8,000 power. Well, we've seen that 8,000 power is quite high, and 2 cost to Digivolve is moderately low. So, yay? The 7 cost to play normally is not particularly good. So, the argument is we've got essentially a 2 cost to Digivolve, 8,000 power Digimon. Nobody is going to play this card because green have got way, way better options. If you're playing green to have big smashy evolution, something is probably going a little bit wrong here. And also, if you want a 2 cost to Digivolve, how about Mega Kabuterimon that gives you a memory when you attack if 2 or more of your opponent's Digimon are at rest? How about Okuamon, where if this Digimon destroys your opponent's Digimon by battle, you gain a memory? How about Lilymon, that lets you rest one of your opponent's Digimon that doesn't have blocker? I could keep going, but you see my point here. We don't need a vanilla 2 cost to Digivolve green, because we've got some good non-vanilla 2 cost to play to Digivolve green. And honestly here, I'm just not seeing a huge argument for this at all. And bearing in mind, even the ones I've mentioned, they tend to see a little bit of play, but we've got cards like Blossomon with Digisorption -3, which means that when you Digivolve, you can rest one of your Digimon to Digivolve for nothing, which is good, incidentally. Or we've got something like the Argamon, the level 5 Argamon, that's got exactly the same skill, so you essentially Digivolve it for nothing. So if I've got, and I only gave you a few examples, there are more, but if I've got a bunch of 2 cost to Digivolve with good skills, and I've got a bunch that I can actually Digivolve for free, tell me again where the argument is for playing a vanilla 2 cost to Digivolve that's a little bit more powerful than average, but still not really powerful enough to make us particularly care. Yeah, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm giving this one 2 Wassies, and honestly, if that is, if anything, a little bit generous. This is why we didn't have a reveal video yesterday, incidentally, because they only revealed this card. And as much as I enjoy talking about Digimon cards, and as much as I could go for hours on almost any card, I think giving this any more time than 2 minutes at the end of a video based around other Digimon would be, frankly, a little bit of a stretch. But I'd like to know what you think about all of these cards, ladies and gentlemen, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing is always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassie Plays.